applauses and the claps. Many thanks. Great to be here. I'm just like, okay, this bio is looking a little too long.
Oh Lord, but you did that. You are that girl. You are that lady. You are that woman. You've done that, and we really appreciate you taking time, joining us all the way from Paris. I do know that you've had to move a couple of meetings to accommodate this webinar, and we're very grateful. The team says thank you. How is Paris today? Is it Paris or is it Paris? Which one?
It's whatever you want to call it, but yeah, for sure. I mean, the ideal, Paris and then Paris, like for example, people say LVMH, but it's LVMH because in Paris, H is ash, so it's all about the whole cultural communication and all of these things. But if you then go to say maybe Nigeria and say LVMH, somebody be like, oh, what are you saying? You know what I mean? So yeah, that's I think that's also some of the things we'll look at today. It's just very interesting, the nuances, right?
I love that you gave that example because really that's what today's conversation is about. Those nuances, and we're bringing them into the context of the work environment, the corporate world. Just before we dig into Q&A, can people who are here tell us where you've joined from? Let's even have a sense of where you've joined from. I always like to understand people I'm speaking to so that we can speak to the context that you would appreciate. So let's know in the chat box. Feel free to engage, ask your questions, and let's have an interactive time. So Omawumi, here we are having this beautiful conversation. You are well traveled. I don't think you stay in one place for 2 weeks at a stretch. You're always traveling, which ultimately means that you're having to interact with multiple people from different cultures, different backgrounds, different belief systems. Yeah. When you got that topic, when we said, Omawumi, please come and share with us on cross-cultural communication in the corporate space, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
Communication at the end of the day, it's really about that information from moving information from one person, one organization, one entity to the other. However, what people don't understand is that it's okay to speak, it's okay to communicate. However, if who your target audience, your end point, if they don't get what it is that you're saying, communication has not happened. So it then is beyond you. It's really about the person you are speaking with, ensuring that at the end of the day, they understand what it is you want to tell them, and then you have won. It's a win, because if I'm telling you, but just because this is how I talk, this is me, and then the person doesn't get what you're saying, and you want to stay on your own because you are the Don and speak the way you speak, but communication has not happened, So at the end of the day, it really should be, yes, it's about you, your authenticity and all of that, but you have to put the next person into consideration. And so I loved, that we're going to have this conversation. And cultural, it's really also is beyond communication. It's also about weaving in emotional intelligence into the entirety of it all. Yeah.
Great. So let's start with this opener question. How does culture impact communication? Because everyone's from one culture or the other. It's not just maybe Africa. Every society, you find that they have their own culture. And so that means that as long as you're born in a particular society, you carry the culture of that society. And so when you even move to another country, when you find yourself in other settings, that culture is still a part of you. But maybe you can also share with us just how much culture influences our communication.
Yeah. Again, like you said, it's really because what is culture at the end of the day? It's a way of life. It's how we do things. People say this is how we do. Sometimes when we ask, you ask, I don't know, I'm sure everybody can relate to this. You ask your parents, why do we do X, Y, Z? Like, I don't know. It's just I saw my parents doing it. I saw my grandfather doing it. It's just being passed down from one person to the other. And that's the whole about culture. So yes, how does it impact? It's really the way of life. You cannot do more than you know. So, for example, in Paris, and if I'm saying, oh, let's, there's the time where everybody's traveling in July, for example, for summer. Nobody wants to talk about work. You know what I mean? So you can now be saying, oh, July, let's do a conference or let's do something. People have gone to the south of France or gone to somewhere, they holiday, they have that part, right? But in Nigeria, if you want to do your your conference, great, you'll find people, and just the different parts. So you have to take all of these things into consideration in whatever thing that you're doing, in whatever communication, or telling somebody by 6 p.m., let's go and have a walking dinner. It depends on the place where you are. It's not going to happen. Or sending somebody an email in the, at night. So you need to really understand that environment where it is that you're living or you're operating in, or you are sending, even if you are in your country or in your environment, or you are then communicating with somebody who's not there, you want to take that into consideration. For example, in Nigeria, it's a very, there's all this respect where you say, hello, madam, hello, sir, and all of that stuff. And then you go to New York and you're telling your professor, hello, ma'am, and the person is like, "Mm." But you're calling your professor in New York by name. Hi, AD, how are you today? And then you go back to Unilag and say, the University of Lagos, and say, hi, Mayowa, how are you? And this person is like a 60-year-old professor is looking at you like, huh, since when? So it's really understanding all of these things and being able to maintain your authenticity as well as knowing the environment that you are in.
So how do we learn? For instance, I see in the chat box that a number of people have joined from Dubai in the United Arab Emirates.
Mhm.
The UAE, you've got over 100 nationalities who call this place home. And so that means that in the average corporate space, you have at least 3 nationalities
Yep.
in that space. How do we begin to learn how to ace cross-cultural communication such that it becomes a superpower for us, such that it becomes a soft skill that we can boast of and tell, prospective employers that I'm the one you need to choose when you want to manage large teams from multiple cultures? How do we learn to ace cross-cultural communication?
Yeah, the first step is really about understanding where you are and being open to learning, as opposed to this is me, this is who I am, and you must accept my own, So you need to first really want to be an active listener and interested. There are people now who you introduce them and say, hi, Mayawa, this is Omawumi. And the next minute you've forgotten their name, So you've forgotten what it is that they're doing. So you want to be an active listener. You want to be interested in learning about this whole thing. Just open your eyes and see. The UAE, like you said, there's over 200 nationalities there. So you're meeting people. And UAE is also sort of like a collectivism society. So people, they don't make, yes, they're individualistic people, but there's also that collectivism that you find in UAE, in the Gulf region, And so you want to take that into play. You understand, and seeing that they like that they're relationship oriented. You need to be able to build trust, and that messages are sometimes usually communicated indirectly. There's no like confrontation. They're not as confrontational as some of us can be, and you can't then approach things the way you want to. So you need to first listen, just understand, observe, and see what is happening in the environment around you. Be genuinely interested, ask questions, and then you're able to contribute to the conversations. They're very consensus seeking there. So they will, oh, should we, when should we, and all of that stuff. They want to ensure that everybody's voice is heard and there's respect. Respect is big on respect. And so you want to really understand that part before you bring in. You need to understand there's even, like, for example, offsets inside. I don't know if we know that It's a framework where it's just mind blowing when you take the you do the culture, the intelligence test and see the different things. You'll be shocked. So it gives you insight into maybe Europe, even for example, France and like Germany, they're all in Europe, but there's a huge difference the way people in Germany operate and the way people in France operate. Nobody's saying you have to then learn everything, but you need to take in the key parts, especially where you operate in the corporate world. So it's very important that you understand that part and be able to know the context for where you are, and be able to really be self-aware and do just avoid jargon, avoid all these things that will be misconstrued, and
Mm.
put yourself in the shoes of others, So you try to understand and see what is going on. Be able to really just ask questions and observe. First, observe without jumping in. See the way things are happening. Sometimes, you just need like 5 minutes to be able to observe, and then you're able to find a way to get in.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I was going to ask you, because you touched on cultural intelligence as well, and that's key. If you understand how a people are, then you most likely know what to do and
Yeah.
what not to do. But before I ask you another question on cultural intelligence, can you just share, even from your own experience, the different places you've been to and the changes or the differences rather that you've noticed in how
Mhm.
people, you already gave us an introduction to that, how people in France are, for instance, even how you address your superiors in one country as opposed to how you do it in Nigeria. What other, real life examples can you share with us from all your travels
Yeah.
and your work, even as a communications expert?
Right. So, for example, in Europe and other places, when you go to a restaurant, you stand and wait for them to seat you. In Nigeria, I don't necessarily have to do that. I walk in, look for the nice spot that I like. I see, unless it says reserved. So you stand and wait for them. Before then, I used to just barge in, larger than life. I just walk through. And my friend who's from France was just like looking at me. At times, these things really do help you. I'm not going to lie. On Saturday last week, we did our graduation from my executive MBA. And while we were taking, thank you, we're taking photos, individual photos. And I just, I didn't, we don't really like queue so much in Nigeria. And me, yes, of course, I understand this and all of that stuff. And then I just walked in to go to the front, and I saw that there's a queue. Oh, there's a queue. And then I went back to join the queue. But when I finished taking my photos, I saw two of my friends that I'm like, hey, come over. They're with us. And they immediately joined in and took the photos. And the camera person, the photographer, was like, oh yeah, and everybody just kept quiet. But of course, and there was a way that it was done. But of course, they should have gone back on the queue. I was able to just manage it well so that I could go. But in some places it's not going to fly. You know what I mean? So, or like, I'm so sorry, my Nigerian people were usually late. You 5 minutes late. If you go in a meeting 5 10 minutes late, the person is not going to be like too upset with you in Nigeria. But there are places you go and you're not there, and that maybe 10 minutes 5 minutes, they're going to be upset with you. So these are some things that you can't do. Or even where you're hugging someone, some places they're not going to hug. For example, I went on a concert on Sunday with a friend. She's from the Gulf region, and then my friend who worked with me there is from France. And it was French people. They would usually maybe shake you and give you two pecks on the side, but she doesn't do that. They will maybe give you like a small hug. She can't do that, and so she just stayed when I was introducing them. And later on, she was like, "Oh, I hope you can apologize to your friend that we don't give pecks, because this is." So you have to know, when you see somebody who's wearing an hijab, you need to be able to respect the person the way they would be respected as a man or as a woman. You don't want to do something that would then, step on their boundaries or impede their culture. So it's important. And if you're going somewhere, take the time out to even find out some things, read, Google, and know what is obtainable in those places. It's very important. Or even using some slangs, like me, sometimes, I use some slangs and they're not understanding what it is that I said. It could have been where this slang would have been a nice maybe compliment. For somebody else, it's an insult. So you need to know and just use universal languages and avoid things that could be misconstrued.
Absolutely. Thank you. While before I ask you the next question, if anyone who's on the call, if you've got a question, something practical or something you've experienced, perhaps a situation that you're currently having to manage and you want to ask Omawumi, how would you go about this? Feel free to do that in the comment section. We're trying to keep this as engaging and interactive as possible. So back to you, Omawumi. One form of communication, one channel of communication that is popular in the corporate space across board is emails.
Yes.
Emails. I cannot tell you, even as a media person, how many times I've had to revisit an email draft because I need this thing to be able to communicate something. However, I want to be very careful. How do I show that I mean business, but I want to say it in a nice way? And email communication is a whole thing. I have to follow like email lingo, hashtags. It is that deep because words are powerful. And even written words are very different from spoken words because there's that advantage. Well, anyway, you are the teacher here. Perhaps let's just start from the differences, the major differences between when something is spoken in person and when it's got to be communicated via email before we now do a deep dive into email communication.
Right. I mean, like you've said, there's a difference. There's ambiguity that comes with the written word, just because you're not there to explain. And so it's important when you write, unless, you need to, especially if you're doing like a crucial email, I would recommend write it before you need to send it. Write it, leave it, come back and look at it. Okay. For me, sometimes when somebody has offended me and I need to respond via email, I write it the time I'm feeling, the way I'm feeling, but I don't send it that moment. I come back, revisit, and you have to be professional. There's a way you can tell somebody, go to hell professionally. They get the message, but they don't feel insulted, Or even like somebody from my team sent an email and just, hello, how are you, with exclamation mark, and look at your drive here. Boom, nothing. I'm like, what? Is this from GLG Communications? Why are you doing this? Ridiculous. So there has to be that etiquette for the written word. And because you're not going to be sitting there with the person to explain. If it reads confusing, it's confusing. If they cannot understand it, even whether it's email, whether it's WhatsApp, you need to understand. So because like you were saying, if you're speaking, you may be able to see my tone, you can see my face, you can see all this thing, that, okay, this is how it is. But with the email, it's tough because there is that ambiguity. And you need to be able to take that away from your conversation, even when you're upset, even when, somebody is you really want to tell the person, go to where the sun doesn't shine, but you have to do it nicely. It's very important professionally to ensure that these things that, you're doing them. So very key, the written word, if it's confusing to you, or if it's confusing to somebody else who read it, you just scrap it and make it easy for people to read. Simple does it.
Thank you. I'll just throw this to the audience again. What are your present challenges in terms of communication in your own workspace? Feel free to drop, what the situation is. Drop a comment. Let's address it. Perhaps which industry are you even in? Because different industries sometimes need to be tweaked. The communication needs to be tweaked in different ways.
Yeah.
So back to your Omawumi, you touched on something I really like, and that's because I had to also speak to my assistant on that. Emails and how you just put 2 lines and that's it, right? How should we craft our emails in such a way that it communicates professionalism. It is, and it's also like emotionally sensitive or emotionally aware in how we've crafted our emails. What are the pitfalls to avoid? And I know in PR, you guys, every word you have to check every word. You're very careful. How can we also be careful when we are sending out communications?
Right. And it's very key because even the way you've sent your email depends on the kind of response you're going to get, right? Especially when you're requesting something, you are, or even just sending out some, maybe you are sending out an email to your team or to people you want to buy your course or attend an event or invite them for something. Keep it so simple. KISS. In every communication, I tell people, just think about KISS, KISS. Keep it so simple. Forget about all this plenty. I know I had this client then who speaks, big grammar, and we used to manage our social media. I'd be like, excuse me, ma'am, people don't need this. He say, but this is how I speak. I said, but it's not about you. This is the target audience you want to speak to. They need to be able to understand you. Yes, you bring yourself in, but you need to speak to the people. And always, one thing I find, especially if you're sending like a newsletter or you're doing something, people don't want to feel like you're talking to all of us, They want to feel like you're speaking to one person, you're speaking to me, speak to one. Even with your social media, speak to one. Unless it's something bad, where you're admonishing, then you can say we, put yourself, even though it's not you, it's them, so that they don't feel judged, then you can say we need to do better the way we go about things like this, blah, blah, blah. But when you are doing hello, everyone, even if it's 5 people in the email, good morning, how make it, unless you want to address people, and use the name, dear Akbewe, dear Abiba, hope you're having a good day. It makes people happy. Let me tell you, end your email on a good note always. That good thing, the maybe you want to thank somebody, maybe thank you, Maiwa, for this letter. I'm very pleased to read it, blah, blah, blah. At the end, use something, because that is the last one that slips with them. So that ending, either your and put your things, don't put too much. A lot of people, the attention span is so short. So you want to keep it sweet. Even if you're doing, like, maybe you have some requests or some things, I find that numbers work really well. So sometimes you can number it, keep it short. One, XYZ, B. Two, this, that. Yeah, a few things. Next steps, it depends. Next step, would like to see your bio, would like to see give people a call to action so that it ends. I look forward to your feedback. Thank you. Have a great day. So that there's something they take back, and you're able to summarize your need, your ask, have a call to action, what you want people to do. But people see that you're thinking about me. It works. Whereas the world is selfish. If we take a group photo today, you're going to first find yourself and see how you looked and say, my head is bent like this, or my mouth opened like this. You're not going to care about everybody else, So you want to really leverage that selfishness in people and use it to your advantage. You feel like you're giving, but you're gonna get.
Wow. So good. So good. We have a question here from Vivian. She says, I work in a multinational company where it's okay to address each other by first names, I believe.
Mhm.
But when you meet any of our Nigerian leadership team members on the way and you greet without the sir or oga thing, oga, for those who do not understand, means boss. Again, I think I was just being culturally sensitive by
Yes.
explaining that. They get upset, but they are the same person telling us to address them by their names in meetings. I feel it's a two-faced situation. How can it be handled?
Right. Great question, Vivian. I think it's really, what do you want to achieve at the end of the day? For me, as in PR, when I'm talking to my guys, the journalists or the press people, I want to put a story out. I say, my boss, my oga, hey boss, this is what good morning, boss. Of course, they're not my boss. They know that, they're not my boss. But at the end of the day, I get my stuff done. I get my work done. That's what I care about, you know? So you want to look at that. Of course, there are also some people, because you know where you are at work. For example, if I don't care if you're 700 years old, if you're my subordinate at work, I'm not going to lord it over you. I'm not going to be worshiping you because you're older than me. And all. I give you your respect, whether you're 10 years old or five, whatever. However, you know, especially as women, ensure that you're not, you know, somebody doesn't impede on your own, you know, your professionalism and your respectability. So I'd say, if you know where they are, they want it. This two-faced, of course. I have a client who is much older than I am, but because she works for a global company, she's very well exposed. She's okay for me to call her by her name. I call her by her name. But there's another client, I have to say ma, and sir. So look at it. What do you want to achieve? How do you want to move forward with these people? Are they important to help you move forward in whatever it is that you want to do? Give them their sir, and that's, even you can still call them that sir in the meeting, so that they know, they get it. That group meeting where they want to be their name, call them the sir. So when they tell you, oh no, you don't have to call me sir, the next time you see them, right, like, hi, I'm blah blah, they feel by say, but I'm really confused here, I don't know. You had told me not to call you. So you need to know, you just find a way. It's all about, again, cultural intelligence. There's some stuff, politics involved. Maintain your authenticity. By the end of the day, you want to see, what do I want to achieve and how do I want to achieve it? What is more important to me, in a way that does not also impede on my self-esteem and myself at the end of the day. So that's what you want to do.
All right, two questions that I'll shoot out now, just so I don't forget either one of them. Number one, how should we start emails? Right, I see so many posts online that I'm tired of saying, I hope you are well. I hope this message finds you well. How should we start our emails? That's question number one. Question number two is a scenario that we find a lot here in the UAE, especially when you've got like multiple ethnicities. You find that people begin to speak their own language amongst themselves. I've heard so many people share that they go through this. So they're in a company, maybe you have majority of one particular nationality. You find that in meetings, they end up just speaking their language when it's supposed to be something for everybody. So share with us, number one, how we should handle such situations if we find ourselves in the minority and the ones left out in the communications. And the first question that I asked was, how really should we start our emails?
I think it has to be something that is true to you. Dear XYZ just always works. For me, when I don't know the person's name, what I don't want to see is dear Sama. Like, it's a person, an hermaphrodite. Why are you, slash ma, or even an official letter? Do your research. It's really simple. Nobody on my team will send me a name. If you have a name, go and Google and know if the person is a woman or a man, and know how to address them, right? And yeah, miss, I find whether the person is married or not, just is more professional to just say miss, whoever, whatever it is that they're answering. And dear XYZ, the first time you're talking with them, you can be, use the old dear, the Miss Adegoke, because you don't have a relationship yet. The way they then respond to you tells you how you should go forward. If they go, hi Omawumi, it's great to meet you, you follow that level with them. You have to be very sensitive. But if they continue, hi Miss Ogbe, blah blah blah, you continue with them. And you can go for me, I always like to, because it's just like seeing somebody, good morning, how far, where do we go, how is this? So for me, I always say, I hope you're having a good day. I hope I hope you've had a good day if it's to the end of the day. So find something, or congratulations on your recent awards, and you want to see something, especially when you're doing a cold call, cold email. Find something that shows them that you took the time to learn about them. If they have something new, congratulate them. If they've just had a baby, or they just do, find something and do that. But yeah, it's important to be respectful. And then if you don't want to use name, for example, if I'm doing BCC, I just go good evening, good morning, or please the blah blah blah. You're cordially invited. Sometimes you want, and just keep it short. It's where you're now in the multitude of talk. That's when the errors will come. But yeah, stay true to who you are. I think it's good to ask. Sometimes you'll be shocked. Some people are having a bad day, and this your good day could be what is the shining light in their day.
Thank you. And the second question, when we find ourselves
Yeah.
colleagues and they are speaking the predominant language in the room and leaving us out, how do we handle that?
It's rude. It's very rude to do. And I want to encourage everyone, when you're in the majority, try to bring people in. That shows that you're culturally intelligent, you're emotionally intelligent. And even scientific studies show that the most emotional intelligent people are the most successful people. 85% of success in life is about emotional intelligence. It's not about your brilliance. It's not about the A's you get in school. There's some people who are very intelligent book wise, but they're really daft when it comes to emotional intelligence, and you find that they don't succeed. Look at it, think about it very well. You see the people who are emotional, and you want to, because people will always remember how you've made them feel. When you're speaking a language you don't understand, they just feel that maybe you're talking something bad about them, or you need to be the one who brings people in. If you see somebody who is standing all by themselves and you have a group, bring them in, use the language, that they can understand. And if you can't maybe speak there's always a way, find a way to communicate, bring them in, and don't use use your language, or you are there. And if you are the one who is there, don't feel bad about it. Just try to hold your head high. And if you feel like, moving on to somebody else, do so. And or you use English and bring them back to earth, and join in the conversation and be like, oh, I'm not sure what it's about. Hi, something. And also, I think it's important where you are, try to learn a few phrases of the majority, the language. It makes people feel, so that when you are buying something from somebody who's from the UAE and you're saying shukran or something, even though they know you don't speak the language, but you're saying something little, they take it that you respect them, you value them, and you're making an effort. You can say good morning, you can say, don't just be like, I don't speak this language, please, I beg. Learn some of the few things, and it shows that people just love it when you're able to tell them something little. Even in Nigeria, for example, if I go to buy a barbecue meat, we call it suya in Nigeria, and it was grilled meat. And I want them, I just use the small outside. Most of these people do this, they're from the northern part of Nigeria. I just use the small, language that I can speak. And you see the eyes light up. And I'll be like, you can speak outside. I'll be like, no, just say little, little. Even in France, when they ask me, I'll be like, oh, petit pot, tu parles anglais, tu parles, français, and you'll be like, no, petit pot, like little, just a little. And they'll laugh, they want to help you, they want to support you. You just loosened, the ice, and you made it easy. So yeah, it's both ways.
Well said, well said, well said. Guys, we have a hard stop at 8 o'clock UAE time. So if you have any questions, now is the time to ask. I know that you joined this conversation because you wanted to learn, and we want you to take your own unique lesson. So we have Vivian's question already. Who else has a question? Can you share with us your own work environment? What communication challenges are you facing? Omawumi is also a life coach. So if you're even thinking, how can I use communication to boost myself at my workplace? How can I use communication to show that I'm the woman for the job, I'm the man for the job, or I'm due for promotion? This is a good time to ask, and this is a good opportunity to take advantage of. So if you've got a question, send it now. All right. While we wait, Omari, because your time is precious, so I'm going to throw in every question possible. Well, while the people are trying to figure out what they want to ask, how can we overall, just as we begin to wind down, how can we improve our emotional quotient? How can we improve our cultural intelligence? How can we improve on these points? Is it about reading books? Is it about active listening? How do we do it?
It's all of the things that you've mentioned, it's all of the things, but it also starts from genuine interest at the end of the day. And people can tell when you're, BSing them, you know, people can tell, they know that you really don't care, you're not interested. So you should show interest. Interest is now a very expensive commodity these days. Everybody has a short attention span. And so when you are able to show people that you're interested, ask questions when you go for things. Don't be the one that always wants to just talk about everything. Ask questions. Try to even know who's in the room and do a bit of a research before you go, the people you're going to meet. Just be genuinely interested in asking questions. You get to learn a lot, observe and learn. You could also take a few classes, if you need to go and learn the language. Maybe you're living in a place that is different from where you live. You lose nothing. Instead, you gain by learning, and traveling is such a great way to learn. Just be a global citizen, a global human being. Be genuinely interested and respect people. Don't be rigid. It's great to, listen and have the feedback and want to know what it is. Ask the people who are originally from this place, or it could also be, sometimes it's not about a country. It could be a new industry, you know. You're an engineer, first time you want to go on TV or something, you need to ask questions. Or you're meeting somebody else, or you're a woman, you're meeting a man who is in a different colleague. Ask questions, find people, join groups like, this community is a great one. Be a part of communities, join. And because at the end of the day, you go better with more people when you have support. Everybody needs support. So join some of these communities and be able to take advantage of the things, break stereotypes, and just be able to broaden your horizon by traveling and not being, like a local champion. And that's not because you don't necessarily have to break the bank, plan and go to something. It could be the next city. It could be even you can travel on YouTube, just be interested and show that you want to learn and have empathy. For me, my motto in life has always been, and this has been my motto since I was in secondary school, I treat people the way I want to be treated, regardless. And you never go wrong in that, So so it just helps you understand, so that when you are in a group, you know that I'm not going to be speaking my language because all maybe one person here will not understand me. You speak English, or you speak the English and then you translate, you speak the language, you translate to the person. If maybe there are people who cannot speak English, you need to be able to, so you have to just have empathy. You never lose. You are gaining, at the end of the day. So these are, some things, like I said, and just be able to be adaptable. The most flexible and adaptable people are the most successful people. You're not like rigid and staying in one place. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Omawumi. We have Alexia with a question, I think a contribution. She said, thank you both for your time. You're most welcome. As someone with a background in both legal and music fields, I'm particularly interested in how PR strategies can be tailored for individuals with diverse professional experiences.
Mhm.
Can you share some advice on how to effectively manage and communicate a multifaceted personal brand in today's competitive market? I think this is a brilliant question, and
Mhm.
something I'm very passionate about. Potentiality is something I'm very passionate about, how
Yeah.
people can multiple hats and communicate that brilliantly, because oftentimes the default setting for outsiders is to look at you like you don't know what you're doing. Can you just choose one hat?
Mhm.
How can we use PR to, effectively manage and communicate our multipotentiality in the competitive space?
Yeah. I thought, it's a brilliant question, like you said, but it's also important to know that a confused mind will always say no. And so you don't want to be confusing people with your brand. They're confused, don't know where you are, where you stand. For example, I'm in public relations. right? I'm also editor-in-chief of Glacier Magazine. I'm a trained journalist, and then I'm also a certified coach, right? Something has to be dominant. For me, PR is dominant. Thankfully, they both all, if you see, there's a way that they all, sort of interweave into one another. PR, journalism, and coaching. So I'm not every day talking about coaching. You know that I'm the president of the Life Coaches Association of Nigeria. I'm able to communicate as necessary there. I do one-to-one coaching, but I don't really like push it out there too much. It's really, the PR is louder for me. You need to be able to let people know you very well in something, and then you can introduce, you're there. So legal and music, you need to know what is your main, what is your day-to-day, what is your bread and butter, right? And then with that legal and music fields, it's also, you could be, a lawyer who is then working with artists more because they need legal representation, they need all these things, the IP and all these other things. So you need to find a way. And if you're trying to build thought leadership, you can then build thought leadership and write about how artists or musicians and all of these people, they're not protecting themselves. They know 5 things to do for your your catalog when you're this, because you have all this expertise. And sometimes that way, even as a lawyer, or I don't know, you're able to then maybe for World Music Day, you can then write something or get an interview and bring it in from the legal point of view. But yeah, seeing that they still know that you have expertise in music, and maybe you play an instrument or something, you're able to mix that up. But you can't have all of it as dominant. One has to be more dominant, but then find a way to complement it so that it works. In the end, you don't want to confuse people, because when you confuse people, they're going to say no to you.
Brilliantly answered. Alexia, I hope that satisfies your question. Yes, and she says that's excellent advice. No confusion. Bravo, bravo. I think that's the last question we can take, because I do have to do some last words, announcements, and XYZ before we let Omawumi off the call. Omawumi, any last words before I then go into like final words and announcements?
I think I'm just going to build off of the conversation now with Alexia. It's really about, like you said, be all that you can be. I want to say, live to the fullest. Be everything. If you want to, who says, if you say the first 10 years of my life, I want to be a rock star, next 10 years, I want to be, as long as you're ensuring that you're not confusing people, but please embrace all of the different aspects of your life and live it to the fullest, and be a person of value every time. Whether you're communicating, whether always come from a place of value. And you will never lose when you be the one who's giving value. You never lose because you're getting it back in a way that you don't even have to demand it. People are fighting to give it to you. Ask people, how can I help you today? What can I do for you today? They're going to, do everything they can to support you. Be a person of value.
And beautiful way to end, because you have been a person of value to us. Guys, please do go support Omawumi across social media. She does amazing work and she shares so many tips. So if you feel like, oh my God, this woman is loaded, you definitely want to stick close to her on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and across all the platforms where she's available. We'll make sure that we post it on the community as well, so that you can follow us, or we'll share all of that. Omawumi, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. I really did expect many more people to join, but the good thing is the conversation is recorded and everybody in the community will get the replay. Before I let everybody go, just a few announcements. As I shared earlier, Road to Success and the Success Community, we have monthly webinars. So if you're new here, you're very welcome. If this is your first interaction or engagement with us, we hope you've had a great time. Stick around. We're all about giving value on this platform. So we do monthly webinars. Omawumi was fantastic for our June webinar. So you want to look out for our July webinar. You want to join us on the platform on NASIO. You find it in the chat box, all the different ways that you can join us. What are some of the initiatives we're pushing right now in the community? One of them is African Content Creators Directory, and I'll share my screen very quickly so you can see. This one is coming from Instagram. Please give me a thumbs up if you can see that. So this is from Instagram, and of course, please follow us on Instagram if you haven't. We started this initiative because we saw a gap. So we're asking all content creators who are Africans, especially in the United Arab Emirates, to sign up and join this directory. There's a lot we're planning: trainings, events, collaborations, plugging you with opportunities. We are planning a lot. So if you do not identify as a content creator, please share with your friends who do. It doesn't matter if you have a 9 to 5 or a business, as long as you love to create content, you are active on social media, you qualify to sign up for this. Again, the link is in the chat box. You see it there. What else are we working on? Yes. So in line with our initiative to bring together content creators, we're doing something special with DSD Media. It's a studio that's about to be launched, and we are so excited. So we're working with them. They've provided their platform for this very initiative, supporting content creators. So you definitely don't want to miss out. Find them on Instagram at dsdmedia.ae and follow them. Tell them Success Community sent to them. We have our networking event coming up on the 22nd. We are so honored to have Joe Osawaye, an amazing man, a serial entrepreneur. If there's somebody who carries that spirit of excellence and is African and is doing so well in the United Arab Emirates, that's Joe Osawaye. Again, it's on the 22nd. Tickets cost 150 dirhams. And of course, that comes with food and drinks. So you have an amazing time. He will be sharing a lot. So we're going to be in conversation with Joe Osawaye on the 22nd. The time is 12 o'clock at Kiza. We just published this today, so feel free to share. Again, the link to do that is in the chat box. And I think that's it for all my announcements. I'd like to say thank you to everyone who joined. I always like to get feedback. So can we just take another 10 seconds to get your feedback? How was this conversation for you? Would you join our next call? Very quickly, can we just go into the chat box and see? Okay, so no link to the community. All right, Win, please drop the link to the community there so people can join. I know that some people join straight from the meeting link. So let's drop the community link there so people can join. Omami, I'll excuse you because I do know that you have another engagement right now. So thank you so much, and we love you so much. Thank you for adding
Thank you, Maiwa. Thank you, everyone. It was great to chat. Well done.
Bravo. Thank you, everyone. I'm still waiting to see those comments, your feedback. How was this for you? Should we keep at it? Did we do a good job? What was missing? What was great? Feel free to share all of that in the chat box with us. And we look forward to seeing you at our physical event on the 22nd with Joe Osawaye. Check him out on Instagram. He's phenomenal. You don't want to miss an opportunity to be in the same room with him, learning from him. If you live in Dubai, in the UAE, and you want to understand what it is to succeed in this country, you definitely want to be there. Thank you, everyone. I'll be reading your comments. Vivian says it was indeed an engaging session. Thank you. Alexia says this was a great conversation and able to ask questions. Yes, we always just want to plug you to opportunities. Media intern says, love the opportunity to listen and learn. Thank you. Glad it's also recorded. Nice to have the opportunity to ask questions. This will be uploaded to the community platform. All our webinars are there, so this will be no different. We're going to upload it as well. And that's it. My name is Maiwa Adegoke. Please do engage with us on social media. Tell your friends that this is what we're doing. We're doing amazing work. And we look forward to seeing you next month, or before next month. We actually want to see you on the 22nd at the networking event. Bye, everybody, and stay blessed.